And of course, the next thing I know, there was quite a few people running around wearing these camouflage Ninja Turtle suits and pointing machine guns, and I saw some people hanging around earlier, and I said, you know, this is the only farmhouse on this road that they could raid, and there's no hunting around here. I wonder what they're up to. So I proceeded to call a bunch of the militia commands and let them know this 39 pickup game where they're going around picking up militia leaders and people that are constitutionally oriented to try and jam the people may be going into effect, and I warned them that they may be starting right here. And so immediately the call went out. Well, sure enough, down the road came all these Ninja Turtles on Halloween, mind you, all in costume, all brandishing these machine guns. And I think you can see, if you got even the slightest brain in your head, that this was a situation that could have been a great tragedy. And we have all these farm animals running around. We got a big buffalo cow that's sitting in the background. You'll hear him on the tape going, moo! And chickens scattering everywhere. I mean real chickens, not the chickens in the ninja suits that are hiding their face because they're so scared. They don't know what to do. But uniquely, the militia responded immediately, and they started filling the front yard, and the backyard, and the woods across the street. And these cops are getting real nervous. And when they first got a hold of me, they threw Joe Franz, the owner of the farm, down into a mud puddle, pushed his face in the mud, and put a machine gun to his head, and sat on his back. And they made me kneel down with my legs crossed, and I'm handcuffed. And of course, immediately I proceeded to read them their rights. You got a right to remain silent. You got a right to an attorney. You got a right to have your attorney present during question. Anything you say again will be held against your court of law. If you can't afford an attorney, you want to be appointed by the court. Do you understand the rights that have been spoken to you? You wish to make a statement on your behalf? We will be going to court. Do hire a good attorney. Shut him up. Boom. Pushed me down in a mud puddle face first. Then he pulled me up. I said, you hire a really good attorney. Somebody like Jerry Spence, except I know he doesn't work for slime balls. And he says, I said, we're going to be going to court. I'm going to sue your socks off. I'm the one your mama warned you about. You ought to be paying real close attention. The next thing I know, and of course, nobody showed us any warrants. Nobody showed us any paperwork. Nobody had any badges on. Nobody had any ID tags on. They then proceeded to trash two trailers that were owned by private parties in the back area of the farm lot. And interestingly enough, I told the prosecutor yesterday at our little meeting, you know, you stole all that guy's property. I should tell you that that wasn't my property, and I should tell you that that guy is real good friends with Jeff Feiger. The prosecutor goes, oh, God. When you hear the whole story, you're probably going to laugh your pants off, and it's really funny. The sad part about it is that, one, it really happened. Two, the family has been terrified. The farm gal lady that owns the farm doesn't even like to be at home anymore by herself. She breaks into tears without even warning. Their name has been published in the paper, and I think, in a farm community, everybody knows everybody, and it's kind of hard, You got crazy people at your farm. No, that's not true. It was really hilarious because she came out and ran across the yard. I want to say a word in my hand. I want it right there. I want it right in my hand. I want it now. And Joe Franz is laying down on the mud. He leans over to this police lieutenant. He says, gentlemen, that's my wife. And
down on the floor for no reason at all. We were drinking a beer.
They didn't show you no
idea,
no warrants or nothing? They just busted in his head. Okay.
Get down on the floor.
Good deal. There's another one.
I came home and they wouldn't even let me in the house.
This is the best footage this camera's ever seen. And it's going to be legal evidence too. Look at this, Joe. They drove all over your grass. There's Dave.
They have a drug. Find the warrant that ain't a drug.
$40,000 right there. Wow.
Did they say the sign in the front door when they knocked it in? Rolled down when they knocked it in and said it wasn't hot. Just walked in. They let me in the house. What show me? I don't know. They won't let me in the house.
It's a house.
There's nothing too secure. It's a house. It's wood and drywall.
You want to get someone up there that's going to take care of this house up here?
What would you like to know what's in there? We can tell you.
Whatever you're trying to find, we'll get it for you.
They threw him down on the ground with a shotgun.
Can't.
A shotgun to my head.
All of them.
He's got a shotgun to his head. This man is a very immature person.
Are you the
and
leader?
should not be allowed loose on a mission like this. That man right there took us in his house.
Who do you call an idiot? Me? Me.
Mickey, he said, that guy's a clown. And I said, that's my son. He said, well, he's an idiot. I-D-I-O-T.
How many you got?
They are not being paid and hired to do their job of calling someone an idiot. That's not what they want. They hired the open men for it. These are the men that in school that couldn't hurt anybody, so they took revenge in the adult stage. Now I can have some power in this uniform. He took advantage of his power, calling us idiots.
Well, we're not going trick-or-treating right
He
now.
overstepped that power real far.
Well, we'll just eat all the
Should have
candy
been
I
point.
bought.
This is going to be awesome walkthrough. I know this. They're dead. They're done. That's it.
He said he was out of Livonia. The state police out of Livonia.
That's what they are?
Yeah, I don't know. They're all from everywhere. They get sent all over the state. That's what he's telling me.
What the charges are on the car? Obstruction of justice. Obstruction of justice?
Obstruction of justice is why they have all these people here. Slamming our company under the ground, my husband into the ground. Point the guns to his head.
You should have went home. You knew you were out there on the road.
I seen him earlier. I seen him 2 hours ago.
So all these Ninja Turtles ran over to her and poked machine guns in her face, and she goes, "Oh, okay, ooh, okay." And they says, "Well, why are you here?" And she says, "Well, we're here to arrest Carl Miller." She says, "All this for one old man," you know. And he said, "Well, he's kind of a dangerous fellow, you know." And the bottom line here is they didn't have one lawful argument upon which to base a complaint. The nature of their complaint, and I will read it so that you can understand what they're charging me with. You'll absolutely be in tears of laughter when you hear what they're charging old Carl Miller with, because they're charging Carl Miller with using his name, Carl Miller. That's a crime now. You can't do that no more. You use your name, that's a crime. They can hang you for that. And, you know, it gets to be a point where you just want to, you know. By the way, I did serve him with a waiver of tort for $100 million in gold to be paid. Now, and I will be attaching the police lieutenant's property this week. He thinks it's a big joke, but he's going to find out. You were serious about that? Yeah, I was just fooling. Okay. When you hear this, you're going to just be in tears. It's unbelievable. And I served this guy, and I showed him they didn't have one basis in fact or law for what they were doing. As a matter of fact, here's part of it. Now, this is all involved in this big Paul Darwin case and the John Stevenson case, and supposedly this Carl Miller guy has been helping some fugitive escape, which is a lie. They just made that up. What Carl Miller was a friend of the gentleman's father and mother, and they came to Carl Miller to get an attorney for their kid, which I provided. I got him a good attorney. He ended up getting him off temporarily. And then he sold him out, and we fired him for that, and I haven't used the guy since. His name is Osterman. Maybe you heard of him. Don't use Osterman. He's no good. He will sell you out, and I caught him doing 3 clients of mine that way, and I will not use the man anymore. He doesn't have any hair in his tail. Do not hire him. Anyway, to make a long story short, one of the guys, who is an excellent patriot, his name is John Medina. Maybe some of you know him. John is a very conscientious fellow. And he was a friend of Paul Darlin, and so this one police lieutenant, a guy by the name of Robert Dossetto, a lieutenant, one each. The only word that describes Lieutenant Robert Dossetto is insane. When you look in the dictionary, under insane, it goes e.g. Lieutenant Robert Dossetto. He goes after John, and he puts one of these handy-dandy radio transponder type things under his Cadillac. And he didn't even put it on right, so the thing hung down and dragged on the ground. So John proceeded to get out and say, "What's that dragging on the ground?" Looked under his car. Isn't that interesting? A box with a wire hanging out of it. He took it down to the airport and attached it to an REA truck headed out of town. 2 hours later, 10 carloads of state police pull the guy over. "Get out of the car, get on it," and get him on his knees. And up comes this, "What'd you do with my $26,000 radio?" Say what? What radio? What you talking about? "You got my $26,000 radio. I want my radio back." "I don't know about your $26,000 radio. What's that got to do with me?" "We had it under your car." "Well, maybe it fell off." "No, it wouldn't fall off. Somebody took it off." He says, "You're in the militia, aren't you?" And John goes, "I'm glad you asked me that question." And he proceeded to go into his militia seminar program and tell them what a bunch of dummies they were. And about a half hour later, he says, "You going to tell us where my $26,000 radio is?" Now, you remember, this thing is going on about 2.5 hours now, and John looks at his watch and he goes, "It's probably passing Chicago about now." They were not amused. I took it to the airport and put it on the first REA truck I could find, headed out of town. And if your radio is such a good radio, you should be able to spot it somewhere just south of Chicago about now. So John did not endear himself, and of course they filed a hokey, phony subpoena on him. Now you got to understand, folks, when you get a subpoena, you must examine it carefully. Normally, it looks like this. And you can get one at any clerk's counter for 25 cents. And you'll notice that it has a seal of the Michigan Supreme Court on it, has a place for the clerk to sign, has a caption of what the case is about, plaintiff versus defendant, has a place to put a case number, a real case number, like docket number so-and-so, FY, and all that AR stuff. And it says who is ordered to appear and what the reasons are and what case is involved and what complaint is being filed and how you are appearing. Are you a witness? Are you a defendant? What are you? So that you know how to defend yourself. You'll notice on the back that it has a certificate of service which the process server must sign. And right up there it says that I did personally serve, including the required fees, if any. Now they're talking about Court Rule 2.506G2, which says that at the time of service, there must be a check attached to this for you for 1 day's service. You don't have a check, you don't got to show up. That's the law. So this twit serves me with one of these hokey, fraudulent, and you'll notice that down here it's signed by a judge of a court of record. And if you're a judgment debtor, you still got to have the judge says, see, it says, I told the cop that, I see that little letter there, it says J-U-D-G-E. Where's the judge that signed yours? His was signed by an attorney. I said, who is this Judge Neil A. Brady? Oh, that's the prosecutor of Hillsdale County. Excuse me? Where's the one that says Judge Neil A. Brady? Oh, I don't have one of those. Guess what? You don't got nothing, pal. And you don't know how to serve nothing. And if you sign that you serve me together with the required fees, I'll charge you with perjury. And that's exactly what I told them, and there's witnesses that saw me do it. Now, we got upset with these guys because we didn't show up. And they got upset with us because we didn't show up. So we went to federal court in Grand Rapids. And we removed the case on the grounds that One, you cannot use a civil summons to enhance a criminal investigation, and it looked like they were trying to get us involved in a criminal investigation. Now let me tell you what they've gone and done, folks, so you understand the importance of this case. They passed this law. It's called Public Act 148, Chapter 7A, and what it says is they can serve one of these hokey, fraudulent subpoenas on you. You got to go down to their star chamber. How many people here know what a star chamber is? That's where you got no rights, none. They call you in all by yourself, and they can ask you any question they want. You have no right to remain silent, because if you remain silent, that's called contempt of court, and they just throw you right in jail. So if you go, you're going to go to jail, and if you don't go, you're going to go to jail. Now that violates the 1st, 4th, 5th, 6th, 9th, 10th, and 14th Amendments of the United States Constitution. The First Amendment, because you're entitled to your life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. The Fourth Amendment, because you have a right to be free and your person, papers, houses in effect, and you have a right to have a warrant duly signed by a judge of a court of record. The Fifth Amendment, because they're taking away your right to be free from a prosecution yourself and equal protection under the law. The Sixth Amendment, because they're not intended to give you any right to confront your accuser. You have no right to confront them on anything they're doing. Of course, it takes away the right of trial by jury, but that's a minor right in comparison to the whole, but it's still a right that they've denied. And of course, the Ninth Amendment says they can't pass any law that takes away rights that are previously guaranteed, so they didn't have authority to pass this law in the first place. Now we get into the 10th Amendment, and it says the power is not delegated by this Constitution to the United States government, nor prohibited by it to the states, nor prohibited by it to the states. It's prohibited to violate these constitutional rights. The Ninth Amendment prohibits them taking away rights previously guaranteed, and their own state constitution, Article 1, Section 23, says the same thing. Enumeration and addition of this Constitution shall not be construed to deny or disparage other rights retained by the people. It's the same as the Ninth Amendment in the U.S. Constitution. The 14th Amendment says no state shall make or enforce any law which shall take away rights or privileges or immunities of any citizen of the United States, nor deny to any citizen of the United States equal protection under the law or due process of law. Now they're doing it anyway. Now, this is a very important thing they're doing here. And I saw right off what was happening, and I said, oh, we can't have that. That'd be unmotivated. So I locked their heels. I went to the federal court end. John Medina went to the state court end. John, luckily, got in first, because the state court's a little faster to get up on the docket. And before the Honorable Judge Michael Smith, on the day before the raid, it says in the circuit court, the Honorable Michael R. Smith, District Court Case 962563-FY, and the Circuit Case 97-27539-AR, ruled on 10/30/1997 in Hillsdale, Michigan. He went directly to the statute, they're talking about the judge, as he had no other alternative in that no courts had decided on this matter before, and the MCR doesn't make provisions for investigative subpoenas, that's the Michigan court rules, and in that they are a new creature, the legislature needs to be improved and the court rules need to be amended. The judge, upon analysis of petition requesting the issuance of the investigative subpoena, and stated it's defective. The order authorizing the investigative subpoena does not meet the statute requirements, and the investigative subpoena is issued by the prosecutor does not meet the statute requirements, namely has to be signed by a judge. For these reasons and others Mr. Medina has elaborated on, the court finds the investigative subpoena defective, and Mr. Medina, your petition to quash is granted, and your appeal is granted. And furthermore, due to your constant reminder of 2.506, that's Michigan Court Rule 2.506, which says that a subpoena must have all of the things that are required. A seal of the Michigan Supreme Court, must have a caption, people of the state of Michigan, must be in the name of the people of the state of Michigan, must state who the parties are, plaintiff versus defendant, must have a case number, docket schedule, must have the court that you're appearing in, not some chamber of commerce hall, must have a signature of a judge of a court of record, must have what the case is about and what your purpose for being there is, and it must have a docket clerk sign the thing that it was entered on the record. And see, they didn't have, and it must tell you if you don't show up, you're going to be held in contempt of court. Now, you want to talk about insanity? I'll tell you about insanity. After he hammered him, this guy went out and reissued the same kind of bogus, phony subpoena again. Except I was waiting for him this time. And when he came to me, I served him with a $100 million list pendant notice that he is about to be sued. I was going to attach everything he owned, bank business and all. Told him every reason why. Gave him all, so he couldn't claim, this Lieutenant Dissetto couldn't claim. Showed him how many people have seen this case, Larry L. Fairchild versus Bona Vista Charter Township, which says, and I'll be brief, Michigan jurisprudence has never recognized immunity on behalf of a city, village, township, county, or any other administrative division of government thereof from liability for trespass on private property, whether the trespass be of long or short duration. It goes on and further says the Fourth Amendment authorizes a person in plaintiff's position as proprietor of a business other than one pervasively regulated, such as trafficking in alcohol or firearms, to bar government agents, including inspectors, carrying out police power functions to protect public health and safety from his property. Further, it says, in the absence of either a properly issued administrative search warrant or a search warrant otherwise issued on a probable cause, signed by a judge of a court of record, right? And the common law and constitutional law principles of government or sovereign immunity have never permitted government agents to commit trespass in violation of property rights. You see? And under the Federal Tort Claims Act, similarly, federal law enforcement officers who generally enjoy absolute immunity from tort liability may nonetheless be held liable for damages for the tort of trespass. Well, we were trespassing, boys, and I was telling them they slandered my name, they libeled my name. They went around telling people that I was aiding this criminal person. They said that they went to friends of mine and created all kind of problems for them. I showed them that it was totally illegal what they were doing. I told them I assumed them. Told them to hire a really good attorney because they're about to get sued. So now John Medina goes up and blows their doors off, you know, and the judge told them that what they're doing is illegal. And he told them, and I'll read his order for you. Here's what these people have charged Carl Miller with. Don't everybody laugh all at once because you'll blow the camera off. Obstruction of justice, that Carl Miller did commit the crime of obstruction of justice by misrepresenting himself as Carl Miller. How many people here? Is there anybody here that doesn't know that I'm Carl Miller? I mean, you want to talk about notorious use of a name. I'm sure y'all heard of John Wayne, right? His name ain't John Wayne, it's Morrison. Marion Morrison. John Denver, heard of him? You know, Rocky Mountain High, Colorado. John Dusendorf. You know what I'm saying? I'm sure everybody here has read Tom Sawyer. It's no surprise to you that Samuel Clemens is the author and not Mark Twain, right? That's because he knew at the time he wrote that book he could get his head blown clean off. He wanted to protect his family, and the same applies to me for Carl Miller. To make a long story short, I was in the Vietnam War, everybody knows that. I shot down a helicopter full of dope. They were real upset about that, about 15 to 20 million worth. I burned it right to the ground. I made the pilot walk home from Cambodia. Him being a white man and all, and 3 feet higher with round eyes, that's a real hard task. I know, I tried it. The bottom line is, the defendant did obstruct the course of justice by misrepresenting himself as Carl Miller. How ridiculous a statement could you make? Of course I'm Carl Miller. Ask the jailer at Hillsdale Jail if I'm Carl Miller. I'll get into that in a minute. Anyway, to make a long story short, the second charge is that I did willfully and knowingly obstruct, resist, oppose, assault, beat, and wound a Detective Sergeant Russell Byrne, which is an absolute lie because he'd be in the morgue right now if I had done such a thing. A police officer with the Michigan State Police, while said officer was engaged in lawful acts, attempts, and efforts to maintain, preserve, and keep the peace, to wit, the defendant misrepresented himself to Detective Sergeant Byrne of the Michigan State Police as Carl Miller. Okay. And it's a 5-year felony on the first charge and a 2-year felony on the second charge. Well, guess what, folks? A magistrate may not sign a felony warrant. A magistrate can only sign a 90-day warrant for, like, if you don't pay your traffic tickets. They got a magistrate to sign this, a Sharon L. Fate. What do you bet she don't have an oath of office? We found out the other one that they used to get the search warrant in the area where we were at wasn't a judge at all. We checked with the Bar Association, and there is no judge with that P number. I says, oh, well, who is it? And we got the list of the name. It belongs to a Cynthia Bostwick, a private divorce attorney in the city of Port Huron. You want to talk about stupid? You sign a falsification on a record like that, and you've got 23 years with the Michigan State Police, and you're getting ready to retire? I mean, when God handed out brains, this one thought he said trains, and he wanted one that whistled, and they give him the airhead. The bottom line here is, you think these people don't understand the law, but they do. They just know they get away with it all the time, and we let them, so, you know, why bother? Now, I never was served with this warrant, by the way, and I never was served with a search warrant. They went and searched other people's property that they didn't even have a warrant for stuff they thought was mine, and then they found out this elderly gentleman, oh, you mean that wasn't your brand new $18,000 trailer that they smashed the door on and ripped everything up? No. He went over to the state police and asked him, I want to talk to the capo de tutti capo. That's a joke, boy. You're supposed to laugh. The cop says, what? Get the boss out here. And the guy brings the, well, what's this all about? And he shows him this complaint of what happened. I went up north. I came back. I got a B&E larceny from a building. I got firearms stolen. I got all this, my place trashed. And I got to find out that it was the police. What are you kidding me? And the guy says, that's impossible, sir. Who would do such a thing? And he goes, some jackbooted ducks. You know that old saying, if the jackboot fits, wear it, Well, I'm a believer in that saying. Anyway, to make a long story short, the raid came down and they had to get me out of there, and they couldn't find no cops that wanted to take me to jail. So when he asked the one guy, well, you take him over to jail. Well, not me, I'm not taking him. Well, you take him over there. No, I don't believe I want to do that. I don't even know where the jail is. Well, we'll tell you. No, I don't believe I want to do that. Well, you take him then. No, I'm not taking him. Well, somebody's got to take him. Well, it ain't going to be me. See, they knew the militia was responding because radios and telephones were going off the wall everywhere. The whole net was going up on command. People were showing up everywhere. Guys were grabbing their stuff and showing up at rendezvous points. And the sheriff would not come. He later responded on the radio when I was going 105 miles an hour down 32-mile road to a call from the state police for backup assistance. He said, and I quote, his name is Sheriff Dan Lane, and he seems like a regular guy, and he's actually more with us than against us. But he turned around and said, I told you people not to do that damn fool thing now. You just better handle it, and I'm not sending none of my cars. And, of course, the guy running down the road was so scared, his face was white as a sheet, his hands were shaking so bad, I thought he was going to wreck the car. And I told him, I says, you hit a deer, and they're going to bury you in this car in the same box. Why don't you think about slowing down? No, can't do that. And you better not come out of them handcuffs, he said. I said, not to worry, you'll be the first to know. Anyway, to make a long story short, they got me to the jail, and of course the militia reception committee was already there with their officer aide-de-camp approaching the command structure with who they were and why they were there, and they wanted to know all about Carl Miller, and he better be all right. Got me? And I mean, these guys were pretty shook up. They were visibly shaken. Well, then they ferreted me out of there in the middle of the night. Of course, when I was in the jail, I had to do my standard meditation. Oh. And them boys was getting nervous. You start sticking pins in that toilet paper and I'm out of here. Not that I Christian would do such a thing, but prayer is a great thing to give your spirit strength, and I was praying. I'm not ashamed to say it.
Sure.
And I'm here to tell you I was really praying that not one little person would get hurt over this damn fool thing. Because you got to figure on Halloween, what kind of a bird brain would send 60 Ninja Turtles out in costume with loaded machine guns with all kind of little kiddies out running around wanting to do trick or treat. Hey, Mama, look at their costume. They look real. Anyway, to make a long story short, we had a brave young lad who went and videoed most of it, and we got that video, and we're going to have it for you in the next 10 days, and it is absolutely hilarious. This guy is just like Foghorn Leghorn, you know? I say, boy, you're doing it all wrong, boy. And he gets right in their face, and you think you're real tough, don't you? Why don't we go behind the barn and see, you know? This guy can pick up 500 pounds, just like you pick up a lunch pail. He hauls cement bags all day, and I've seen him do it. Anyway, to make a long story short, we filmed most of it, and I'll be honest with you, it is absolutely hilarious. It is so. It would be unjust for me to. I mean, I was highly pissed. Like I told that guy, I was gonna sue there, so I do hire a good lawyer, because I'm gonna sue, and I was singing songs like. I'm gonna sue, down in my heart. Down in my heart, down in my heart. I'm gonna sue, down in my heart. Anyway, to make a long story short, they raced me to Hillsdale in the middle of the night, and of course they got the Carl Miller seminar all the way. When the one cop got out of the car, he said, man, that guy never shut up, man. It's my And they took me to the jail there, and the little jailer, well, he was this nice little guy, and I says, do you think you could give me a piece of paper so I could write my mama a letter? He goes, sure, we'll get you a piece of paper. He comes up with this little piece of paper and a little pencil. I sharpened it on the wall. And I got me down and I wrote out a petition for writ of habeas corpus. Now comes Carl E. Miller on behalf of the defendant in propria persona on his own behalf before this honorable court and respectfully petitions this court for a writ of habeas corpus, wherein that the corpus or body of Carl E. Miller be delivered as most immediately as is practicable, which is now in the custody of the Honorable Stanley Burkhart of the Hillsdale County Jail, that he be taken to a court of original jurisdiction as most immediately as practicable or within 48 hours to have a probable cause hearing about the wrongful detainer and unlawful detainer of Carl E. Miller without basis in fact or law, wherefore Carl E. Miller respectfully petitions this court for just relief. Signed, the Honorable, signed Carl E. Miller on behalf of the defense in propria persona. And I walked up to the window and the bar, and he came up and I says, would you do me a great favor, please? And he goes, what can I do for you? I says, would you hand this to the sheriff for me? He looked at it and he started walking away and he goes, oh, damn. And I gave him the paper. The sheriff. Shortly thereafter, the sheriff came down. And he was very upset because some gentleman from California had called him and said, you better not harm a hair on Carl Miller's head or there's going to be a death in the family. You got me? I don't appreciate people calling me up here and threatening me. You know anything about this? And I got a stack of papers up there. Got to be that thick. Freedom of information this, freedom of information that. And where's Carl Miller? And how much is the bail for Carl Miller? And all this stuff. And I've been getting my phone hung off the hook. They call me from California and Walla Walla, Washington, and Phoenix, Arizona, and Gulfport, Mississippi, and Dallas, and Fort Worth, Texas, and Tampa, Florida, and Atlanta, Georgia. He said the police from New York City called me and told me it'd be a real good idea if I didn't harm Carl Miller. That's all them 18,000 cops that walked in and filed taxes and said, oh, Carl Miller went and helped beat the IRS, you know? It'd be a real good idea if you didn't harm that boy, and don't go to court against him because you're going to lose. Now, you gotta appreciate the humor of all this. As fast as people were being brought into my cell, I was showing them how to get out. And, they didn't catch on right away. This one boy come in there and he had blown 2.0 on the Richter scale, and he was a little tipsy, but I saw he was a big lad, and knowing about big lads, I says, you probably aren't even drunk. He says, well, I'm a little tipsy, and I said, I blew 2.0. I says, well, hurry up. Go over there and start drinking water. Drink, 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 drink. Go potty, go potty, go potty. Drink, 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 drink. Go potty, go potty. About 40 minutes of this, the guy leans, he says, I think I'm going to be sick. I says, good, stick your finger down your throat, throw all that stuff out. You know? So he horked all over the toilet. I said, now get all that cold water on your neck and your face and put some on your wrists. And I said, wipe your face off there, take some of that toilet paper. And I said, now bang on the bar and tell that jailer you want a blood test. Tell him it's Rule 802 of the Rules of Evidence. You got a right to the blood test. And you'll pay for it. You got your Blue Cross card. You got a Blue Cross? Yeah, I got a Blue Cross card. So he rapped on the jail door, you know, and what do you want? He says, I want a blood test. Rule 802 of the Rules of Evidence say you got to pay. The jailer looked at him, and he looked at me, and then he looked at him. He goes, man, you blew 2.0 on the breathalyzer. When you think the blood test is going to hang you worse? He said, I got a right to a blood test. Rule 802, I want my blood test. You're going to get me a blood test or what? I said, I'm paying for it. Now, if they deny you, they got to dismiss the case because they denied you your right to a defense. So the sheriff knew. He's all right. I'll get two deputies, run you over to the hospital. So they ran him over to the hospital. Come back, he put his arm around me. Thanks a lot, man. I really appreciate it. He said, you got me off. He says, they said I wasn't even drunk. So they got to let me go. He said, that's when I owe you. I says, yeah, and I'm going to collect it right now. You're going to promise me you ain't never going to do this again, right? He says, God loves you. He don't want you out there running around, running into trees and people and killing things. If you're going to be driving drunk, sooner or later, your number's going to be up. So you got to promise me now. You owe me. I got you off. You were looking at probably 2 years in jail. He said, all right, I'm never going to do this again. I said, that's a smart move. Now you make sure you keep your word and you're going to be straight with me. But it was hilarious. And then they brought this little girl in and she started crying because she'd never been in jail. It's hard, girls, if you go to jail because all the guys start whistling. And they don't give you no comb for your hair, no lipstick or nothing, you know. And you're not used to having a door closed behind you that goes... And it rattled, yeah. And the guys were all giving them all the business. Hey, honey, what you doing tonight? All that stuff. And she started crying. And I turned to these guys and I said, now, I'd been getting them out right and left, so they knew I was a straight arrow. I said, aren't you ashamed? Look, you made her cry. This is her first time and she's scared, and you made her cry. Now, you tell her you're sorry. And we're sorry, we didn't mean it. And the jailer's picking up on all this stuff, and the sheriff goes, put him in a cell by himself. Close that door and put the glass across there. I don't want him talking to nobody. We're sorry. So we had an entertaining time there for a while. And we were getting them out pretty good there until they figured it out. But they had to shut the phones down in several counties, St. Clair County, Macomb County. I got to see that Macomb County sheriff. He's a friend of mine, too. He's probably going to be mad at me. Next time you go to jail, tell him it's some other county. Don't tell him Macomb. But they blew the phones off of 3 counties that I know of. And you'll be happy to know we went to court yesterday, and I went into the clerk's office to get a stay of execution because I wasn't playing with him no more. That crooked judge that told me when I went to court and I beat the snot out of him, and he told me the court rules don't apply. And I looked at him, I said, gee, Your Honor, why'd we even bother to show up in court today then? Why don't we just go out on the street, we'll draw swords and count to 10, like they used to do, in the old days, when they didn't have no court rules. I don't like your intent, young man. I said, well, Your Honor, my intent is to uphold the court rules and the Constitution. It's my honest belief that our legislature wanted the court rules to be honored. They wanted our Constitution to be honored, and you're not honoring either of them. And it's my position that the court rules are valid, that the prosecutor is in default, that he doesn't have a remedy. He does not have a cause of action. He not only is in default, he never even answered the default, to show you what a hairball he is. I don't know what law school he went to. I'm sure he must have missed that class. You know, the one that says you got to respond to anything that they serve you within 21 days? So, I don't even know that his girlfriend took the bar exam for him because I know he couldn't pass it. The bottom line is, I recused this judge and told him I didn't trust him to sit on my case. And then I proceeded to file this heavy-duty motion to quash or for summary judgment with prejudice, failure to state a cause of action for which relief be granted. And I served it in the circuit court, and I paid the $100 fee, removed it out of this crooked judge's hands. And while I was in the office of the clerk's office getting the stay of execution to stop them from having their hearing, who do you suppose walks in? Who do you suppose walks into the clerk's office but my good old friend the sheriff? And he looks at me and he goes, "You." And I go, "Yes, sir. What can I do for you?" He says, he looks at the clerk, "You're not putting him in my jail again, are you?" "I don't want him in my jail. You put him in somebody else's jail. Don't put him in my jail." And I said, "Well, you know, I've been meaning to talk to you about your jail. You know, you have a really good jail, Sheriff, and, you know, you train your people real good, and they're very cordial. I want to tell you, one of your jailers even gave me the paper that I could file my writ of habeas corpus. And I want to thank you for the cordiality and the kindness and the excellent training that you provide, you know. And if I ever had to stay in the jail again, it would probably be my choice to stay in your jail." He said, "Well, it wouldn't be my choice. You're not staying in my jail ever again. I'll tell you that right now." There's some of you in this room that are responsible for that, I know. That wrote all of them faxes and sent them all in there about Freedom of Information Act this and Freedom of Information Act that. And they called them guys for... They called my jail for 6 days. Who's Carl Miller? We don't have no Carl Miller here. Man, they let him out 4 days ago. Wake up. They didn't like that, folks. And I'm going to share with you that there's some of the leadership here is working on a plan so that we can have a continual program where we just push one button and all of a sudden all the phones light up just like that over and over again. So that that kind of pressure can be on these bums when they want to pull a stunt like this.
That's right.
And I'm going to beat these guys, and I already know that. I know that, and I also know that the prosecutor is kind of out of fight because he came up to me yesterday with a real sheepish look on his face and said, "Mr. Miller," you know, that look on his face, "I've been a bad boy. We're prepared to dismiss all of the charges if that's amenable with you." I said, "Well," I told him, "put it in paper, on writing, on paper.
Yes.
And then we will chat about what you put on the writing on the paper. Now, if you can't handle that, maybe one of your secretaries can draw it up and you can look it over and she can read it to you. But we're not doing nothing until it's all on paper. And then I will decide for the record."
Silly.
And I said, "But I think you know I am an aggrieved party here. And I have been severely injured. My name has been slandered, libeled, and defamed. I've been false arrested and maliciously persecuted. I said, my friend's property has been trashed. I said, you know, I have done everything lawful and right by the book, and by now you must have seen Judge Michael R. Smith's order that tells you everything you did was illegal. And now all of a sudden when you know you're losing, now you're ready to be amenable. And I'm just supposed to say, fine. Now you make me an offer I can't refuse. And I'll tell you, I'd highly recommend you return the property that belongs to them old-timers that own them trailers. Because I understand one of them is a personal friend of Jeff Feiger, and I think he's getting ready to sue. All day, this policeman has been trying to call our guy to see if he'll take his property back. Please take your property back. Please take it. We're sorry. See, when they know God is coming, all of a sudden, it's a different story, huh? Before that, they were real badasses, and we got guns. So do we. You almost got a chance to test them. And I am just thankful to God that militia command people used the brains God gave them, and people of all venues came together to my aid, and I want to personally thank you from the bottom of my heart. I intend to add this as another little notch in a continuing group of notches that show a trend over a period of years of great abuse on the part of the state of Michigan to Carl E. Miller. That goes for the gun charge, all that stuff. I think we're going to have a meeting of the minds real soon because I got them right by the throat now. They wanted to jerk me around on my appeal and stall me out and stretch me out and cost me a fortune. What do you bet I get it all taken away? And now we just recently found a new thing. We found out why they did this raid. You're going to laugh when you hear why they did this raid. It wasn't just for some little piece of stuff. We found out that they found out that we had Michigan Compiled Laws Act 49.33, which says that every officer who is required to take an oath of office must take it within 10 days of his appointment or election date. Now, you start going down and pulling them officers' oath of office and see when they signed it. It's no later than November the 17th. And they must have an affidavit of appointment. Guess what? We find no affidavit of appointment, no oath of office within 10 days. Guess what it says happens then? Everything they do don't mean nothing. Now, what would happen if that was to go across the state and everything these judges have been doing is all of a sudden voidable? Now you start to see the big picture. They had two teams of these Ninja Turtles. They had, and you'll laugh, they called them Ninja 1 and Ninja 2. Has anybody been watching too much television? So when I quote Ninja Turtles, I'm really not too far off the track, am I? One of them was on the property to the north of us, which is owned by the power company, and they had people on top of the power company looking down, to include the FBI, watching the whole affair. Now, does that sound like some small-time little warrant problem to you? They were waiting to pull a Waco 2, and it didn't fly. And I credit God Almighty and a whole bunch of cool heads and leadership and command structures for that not happening. And I hope that that continues. I try to get across to people that I don't want anybody doing any violent thing on Carl Miller's name. Old Carl Miller's, he wants to go to court. You want to go to court? I'm ready. Because I can beat the snot out of these mental midgets any time of the day or night, standing on my head. And I don't want nobody getting hurt on my name, say. Theirs or ours. I feel sorry for dumb animals, same as you. Except I think animals are smarter than even these guys. It's been a traumatic time. It's been a bad time for my friends that I was working for, and they were going to be here tonight, but she probably couldn't handle it. I mean, they were scared. They absolutely. They had little kids. They had little kids running around here now. You understand? But I think we ought to start a letter-writing campaign to all state officials to try and put a hook on some of this militaristic ridiculousness that's being brought up by these state police and some of these policing agencies, because I think they've been watching too much Top Cops. And I think their brain is either on something, or it should be on something, Prozac or something like that. Because they got their head someplace where the sun don't shine when you come out on Halloween with 60 Ninja Turtles all dressed up in costume. Like the man said, "Hey, Joe Front, this is the best Halloween gag you ever pulled, man. This is really heavy." Then the guy shoved a machine gun in his face and it wasn't heavy no more. God, it looks so real. Get on the floor. Get on the floor now. Funny thing is, a couple of the guys were drinking a couple of beers after work, you know, and the cops were such nice fellows, and after they let them up, they give them their beer bags. And one guy says, "Carl, it didn't taste the same." I guess when you've had the spit in your mouth fried, it don't taste the same when you've been scared to death and had the bejeebers scared out of you. I'm just grateful to Almighty God that nobody got hurt. And I'm grateful that my friends and all of my associates and you folks all chipped in to try and get old Carl out. I normally wouldn't take the bond, and of course I signed it, UD 1-207 UCC, without prejudice, all rights reserved. I put everything I could get on it. What's all that mean? Yeah, that's just what I put on my name, you know, like Junior. Yeah, okay, man. That's cool. You know, I mean, we laugh about it now, but it was not a laughing matter on the day, I can tell you. And I still feel a lot of grief for the family and the wife who cannot even stay in the house anymore by herself. She's so wound up and scared. I mean, she was scared to death. So I again want to thank you very much for supporting us. I hope you watch this tape. We will have the tapes available shortly, and that's the best thing I can tell you. I can tell you that some lady is involved in helping us do a serious set of videos. Believe me, Pastor Strawcutter, I want to thank you. That's one of the best ideas you ever had, doing those videos, because I don't know if I ever told you, but them videos are all over the world. I get calls. I got calls from Malaysia, of all places. From Sydney, Australia. Don't like that show, won't. I got a call from St. Petersburg, Alaska, which is like 8 hours flying time from Anchorage over the mountains on the North Arctic slope. You can see Siberia just right over there. Man, we love your tapes. We love them Carl Miller tapes. Anytime you want to come to Alaska, we'll play anywhere you want to go. You can put them seminars on anywhere. We can land you anywhere. I got this plane you wouldn't believe. You know, there's power in the truth, and there's power in those tapes. And we need to start even better than we have been, pounding away on those tapes and getting more and more stuff out. Now, a lot of people haven't seen a lot of me in a while. It's because I've been juggling 6,000 cases simultaneously. You're trying to do something like that? I mean, your brain gets fried. If you saw my table in my office, you would think I was totally nuts. It's piled 6 feet high and rising, and it goes around 180 degrees. And it's all people's cases to try and help them. I try and help as many as I can. Now, we're running out of time, so the best I can say to you is bear with us. We're hoping to get more stuff done with Justice Prose. We're hoping to get more stuff done on the internet in Carl's Corner. The very next thing we're putting on is how to do writs of habeas corpus. For them of you that don't know, get one of these when it comes up. Carry it in your pocket, you know? And when the guy says to you, empty your pockets, you empty them right out there. And so, by the way, there's my writ of habeas corpus right there. Just hand it to him. He's got to give it to the jailer and to the sheriff. We'll show you how to do that. And I also want to go into these no trespassing signs, because we just won a case over in Grosse Pointe of all places, and we nailed them for 10 grand for trespassing. You see, that judgment that I read you is a valid judgment. And if you're getting hassled on your property, I want you to put them trespassing signs up all the way around. And when they come out there, send them a bill. You know what I tell them? When you was a kid, how much it cost to get into movies? $0.25. And if you didn't pay the quarter, did you get in? Nope. So you paid the quarter to get in the movie, right? And he goes, yep, $5,000. It's $5,000 to get into this movie, pal. And you know what? They laughed at first. Then the city attorney looked at it. You know what he said? Uh-oh. We're going to have to pay on this one, and guess what? They're having to pay. We're having a status conference next week, and I'll put it all on the next Carl's Corner. Without further ado, they're going to have to shut down because we got to go. And I got to drive a bulldozer at 6 o'clock tomorrow morning, so I got to go to sleep. So I'm thanking y'all from the bottom of my heart. God bless each and every one of you. I hope that we can keep things going. Also, when I get the bond back from this, those that donated and want their money back will be happy to return it. Those that want to leave the money in a fund, we're doing a new thing. We're going to take that fund and we're going to put it into a Justice Prose fund, so that if this stunt ever happens again and we need to get somebody out of jail like right away, we got the thing right there and we just run right down and get them out of jail. Now, does that sound like a plan you guys might be interested in? how effective it was, and I'm out within 2 days, and I'm driving them nuts again. I've been on 3 radio talk shows since I've been out. And I'm getting ready to go on Ted Nugent shortly. And we're going to get on Pastor Straw Cutter. And I'll tell you what, when I'm done with these guys, we've already been on Dominic's. By the way, Dominic has the tapes. Do you have those tapes? He's got them right there. Yeah, we did his show. And I can tell you, we're going to get with Mark Scott. We're going to get with it. By the way, Mark Scott helped us out too. He was the first one to put it out on the radio, and then they got it out on Worldwide Christian Radio. And I'm telling you, they just bombed that jail. I mean, literally, they shut the phones down. They told information, you cannot give out the number for the Hillsdale jail anymore. And that's because it was a 1-800 number, folks. Well, anyway, thank you very much for your time. I look forward to being around for a while to do more terrorism. I'm trapped on a couple of things. God bless each and every one of you and have a safe trip home. Page 618. I just happen to have a copy of the case here. And this is Shapiro versus Thompson.